Welcome back, boxing fans. One more time, I'd just like to put out my best wishes to Diego Jota's family. Obviously, as a Liverpool fan, it's sad to see a key player to your squad pass in such an unfortunate manner. It's sad, and it is what it is. Obviously, all of us can relate to tragedies in life as well, but it doesn't make this any easier. So, rest in peace, young man. We appreciate everything you did for the team. Now let's get to boxing. So apparently, David Benavidez has crawled back to Turkey Al-Sheikh and Saudi Arabia and is going to fight in Saudi Arabia in November. I don't know if this is going to be in the undercard of Benavidez or it's going to be a different card. We'll have to wait and see the specifics behind it. But this is good news. This is exactly what we all felt was going to happen naturally. When Turkey Al-Sheikh invited David Benavidez to go to the Benavidez 2 fight, the whole premise was to eventually walk into the ring and call out the winner, to build up and hype up a potential fight between these two top-level dudes. But unfortunately, Benavidez, what he did is he went there, and after the fight before the big one, he ended up leaving the arena. Didn't even stay to watch the main event, flew straight out of Saudi Arabia without really having any serious discussion at all, and really leaving the boxing world in limbo. Walked away from an $8 million offer to fight Callum Smith on the undercard of Benavidez 3, which would have guaranteed him an undisputed unification fight with the winner. I mean, what's not to like in that scenario? You imagine that 2-fight deal, maybe a 3-fight deal with a rematch clause. So you go to Saudi Arabia, the first fight, you fight in the undercard, and then of course you have this huge unification fight, which if you win, puts you one of the top pound-for-pound fighters in boxing today and moves you so much closer to a potential Canelo Alvarez fight. And if you can't get that, then still the possibility of a rematch with Benavidez is on the table as well for another $8 to $10 million. So, I mean, there's no losing in this scenario. It's just win, 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 fill your bank account and win some more. But he chose to walk away, downplayed Saudi Arabia, acted as if it was beneath him, that he didn't need to deal with Saudi Arabia and Turkey Al-Sheikh, that he was a Vegas fighter, and he was more interested in fighting in Vegas in front of his huge fan base, which is a load of rubbish, but nonetheless, it is what it is. Only to then struggle to actually sign a top legitimate fighter to make a fight in Vegas in 2025, which is exactly what I said would happen. Who is the PBC going to pay and guarantee a big fight with? How are they going to guarantee and pay more than Saudi Arabia? I mean, we know that Callum Smith already fought in Saudi Arabia. He's an English fighter. Obviously, there's a huge connection between the UK and Saudi Arabia. The audience overlaps very well. Obviously, the time frame is much better than the US time frame. And then, of course, there was Anthony Yarde, who was struggling to actually get over to Saudi Arabia, but inevitably was where he would most likely fall, because that's where more money was, especially now that we see what's going on with that whole other UK promotional company, which just lost their deal with Sky TV. So it's no surprise that he's fighting either Callum Smith or Anthony Yarde, which of course, two fantastic opponents for David Benavidez. Not easy work at all. If David Benavidez is able to beat either one of those two fighters, you could easily say that that is the best opponent on his resume. And that's not a criticism, that's just a fact. And it's a good place to be, especially if it's going to lead you to a potential undisputed unification fight. But what he chose to do was do the typical PBC shit. Conspire with the WBC, who then stripped Bivol and elevated Benavidez to become a WBC world champion. Not needing to beat anyone to earn that title, right? Not being understanding to the fact that obviously Benavidez were going to do the trilogy because obviously it had to be done. Benavidez is closer to 40 now than he is 39. You got to get that shit done ASAP. And it doesn't impact David Benavidez because literally for years he's been sitting around doing fucking sweet bugger all, not trying to unify titles against anyone at 168 pounds. So the fact that he walked away from a big fight with Smith and a potential undisputed unification fight all to get an email title did not resonate with most boxing fans at all. It just didn't make fucking sense. This is the kind of underhand kind of things we get used to the PBC doing, right? So, of course, people weren't excited about it, trying to say that now he's currently a 2-weight world champion, yet you've never beat a fucking champion to earn a title. You didn't even fight for a title. You were just elevated, kind of like Tank Davis with his WBA 135-pound title. You just elevated to champion. So now you're a 2-weight world champion, just like Tank Davis. Yet both of those titles are paper titles. They don't mean anything, right? Literally, don't mean shit. The opportunity to fight legitimate fighters to earn those fights was there and obviously far more significant to your legacy, right? You look at, I know some people will bring up Golovkin, because of course you got to always bring up Golovkin, even though I don't understand how he's relevant. But Golovkin, he didn't fight to win all his titles. Yes, I know. Canelo Alvarez was mandated by the WBC to fight Golovkin, who already had the WBA title, right? What he chose to do was drop the title, basically stripping himself of that title to duck Golovkin, meaning Golovkin was elevated. Not that Golovkin wasn't chasing the champion. He was chasing the champion. David Benavidez wasn't chasing the champion. David Benavidez had no interest in fighting Bivol, because if he had, he would have worked with Turki Al-Sheikh, where that fight would have been guaranteed to him. He knew by doing this WBC mandatory shit that Bivol would continue with the Better BF fight, right? Meaning that he would get stripped and that Benavidez would claim that title. That's completely different than Golovkin and Canelo. Canelo had that title, was mandated. The fight with him and Golovkin was a unification fight. He chose to not fight Golovkin, be stripped of the title, only to then fight Golovkin, 6 months, 1 year later. I don't know how much longer it was, but obviously he ended up facing Golovkin later on down the road anyway. So it was all for fucking nothing, unless you just wanted to age Golovkin out a little bit longer, which many people say is what Canelo Alvarez ended up doing. For Benavidez, I think this was the route to always go. I respect this move more than the other move, the PBC fucking bullshit fight fucking maneuver, because the PBC is not guaranteeing $8 million against elite level competition, right? He's never been paid $8 million in his fucking career, especially for, an undercard fight. The opportunity to make $10 million or more to fight the winner of Bivol and Better BF for undisputed. Not only is it a legacy fight, it's a no fucking brainer, because the amount of money you're going to get paid, the attention you're going to get, and probably on some crazy stacked Saudi Arabia fucking once in a lifetime type of card, which Turki Al-Sheikh loves to put together. So the attention potentially that you could get is even bigger, right? And now you can go back to Vegas, potentially as an undisputed champion, far bigger name globally, and obviously a guy who made more money, so now is in a position to push for more money in his career. So it just makes more sense to me. And as far as the opponent, I would have been happy with Smith. I would have been happy with Anthony Yarde. I said, obviously, for both of those guys, the fight would have to be in Saudi Arabia, because why would they fight David Benavidez for some email title in America where maybe they're guaranteed $2 million? Maybe they're guaranteed $2 million with pay-per-view upside, which means no upside, because we know Benavidez against Smith or fucking Yarde aren't big fights in the US, because they're two UK fighters with very little marketability in the US market. So to capitalize on that and do it in Saudi Arabia makes 100% fucking sense. And I'm glad to see that that is exactly what happened. I'm super excited by the fight. I think it's a great fight. I would be very interested to see who wins. At this point, I don't know who wins. I kind of favor Anthony Yarde to beat David Benavidez. If David Benavidez beats Anthony Yarde like Kovalev did and like Better BF did, I will definitely have a lot more respect for him as a fighter. Definitely. Even though he's not the first guy to beat an undefeated fighter, but still Anthony Yarde has shown you that he's a tough out, right? He was a tough out for Kovalev. He was also a tough out for Better BF. So it'd be interesting to see how David Benavidez is able to deal with him at this point of his career. It's a fight that is must-see for sure. I'm interested to see what kind of card it's going to be on. Is it going to be on the Better BF Bivol undercard? I hope so, because that would be fantastic. Then the opportunity of Benavidez stepping in the ring and calling out the champion is exactly what boxing fans hope for. But let me know in the comment section below, what do you think about this turnaround? Is it a good thing or a bad thing? Would you have preferred him to go the PBC Vegas route, or do you think this is the best potential move for him? And who do you think is going to win between Benavidez and Anthony Yarde?